Hey guys, welcome to Telling the Told and Untold. My name is Tshego. Because August is Women's Month, I've decided to cover gender-based violence cases. I think that's important that we hear their stories and keep their names alive. If there are any specific cases that you guys would like me to cover this month, please just leave a comment down below. Before we go into today's case, I just want to give a warning that this case is a bit gruesome. So if that's not something that you think you can handle, I suggest that you click out right now and maybe just try watching some of my other videos. So today we're going to a small township called Chatsworth in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. On the 18th of August 2014 at Shell Cross Sports Stadium, municipality workers stumbled across the naked, headless body of a woman. After this, they called police officers and started searching for her head, but they couldn't find anything. As soon as police officers got on the scene, they too started searching for her head and came out empty-handed. The body was later identified as 39-year-old Desiree Murugan. Desiree was a beautiful woman and she had a 6-year-old son. She was addicted to drugs and became a sex worker to finance her addiction. She had a loving family and she would see her family at least once a week despite living on the streets. And her family were just very hopeful that one day she would overcome her addiction, and they were more than willing to do anything that they needed to do to help her fight this, but they never got the chance. The post-mortem report stated that Desiree had been stabbed close to 200 times. Some sources say that she had been stabbed 195 times, other sources say 197. After this, she was beheaded, and it was later found out that she was alive when this happened. And this is because her neck had black lining, and that just indicates that her heart was beating at the time. If her heart wasn't beating, she would have had a pink lining instead. The investigation started, but police officers had nothing to go on. And this was until they received a tip-off about 6 people, and these 6 people then became their first suspects. During the questioning of Falake Khumalo, he confessed to murdering Desiree. According to Khumalo, he had been approached by a traditional healer, Sibonakaliso Mbili, who was 32 years old at the time. And his mother says that he had had an ancestral calling from a young age. Mbili asked Khumalo to get him the head of a white, Indian or colored woman and promised him 2 million rands if he did this. He also promised him muti that would basically just make him invisible to police officers throughout the investigation and that he wouldn't get caught. Mbili also said that it would be easier for them to find a sex worker, and this is just because most people believe that sex workers don't have families that love them and that police officers won't take their investigations as seriously as other cases. Khumalo then asked 3 people to help him carry out this crime: Jimmy Stanley Telejani, Mulungisi Ndlovu, and Mbali Magwala. Mbali was 16 years old at the time and had a 2-month-old daughter. Mbali was the one to identify Desiree as their target. On the night in question, Jimmy and Mlungisi armed themselves with knives, and Khumalo went to Desiree under the guise of him being a client. They then went to the stadium, and once she was done working, Mlungisi and Jimmy came out of the bushes and started stabbing Desiree. She didn't stand a chance. After Desiree had been stabbed, they then beheaded her and put her head in a school bag. They then climbed on a taxi and dropped the head off with Mbali. Mbali was the one who washed Desiree and basically just cleaned her up and then put her head in a plastic and gave her to Mbili. After Mbili had received Desiree's head, he told them to return a couple of days later so that they could get their 2 million rands. It was later said in court that Desiree's teeth were taken out, probably around the same time that her tongue was taken out, and her face had visible scratches, and her right cheek had been cut off. 2 weeks after they found Desiree's body, investigators went to Mbili's house just to search his yard, and they found tins spread all across the yard that had pieces of Desiree's head. Despite all this evidence against him, Mbili's family doesn't believe that he's capable of such a gruesome crime. According to his mother, the teenagers that Mbili was arrested with came to their yard and they had a school bag that had Desiree's head in it. And they had been to various other traditional healers, but they basically just declined. And after this, Mbili also sent them away with a bag of evil spirits. And that's why she was so surprised when police officers came and arrested her son. And she believes that Khumalo and the rest of them basically lied on her son and she doesn't believe that he's the one that sent them out to go kill Desiree. And she also said that her son uses natural herbs to make muti, not human body parts. In 2017, 3 years and numerous court dates later, Desiree's killers were finally sentenced in Durban High Court. Jimmy Stanley Telejani and Mlungisi Ndlovu were sentenced to 15 years in prison each. Mbali Mkwala was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and Sibunakaliso Mbili was sentenced to life in prison. Vusimusi Jabulani Gumede was acquitted of being an accessory to murder after serving 2.5 years in prison. Vusimusi was said to be Mbili's traditional healer trainee, but there was no evidence against him, and that is why he was acquitted. Desiree Murugan was a mother, a daughter, a sister, and above all, she was a human being. And that is it for today's case. If you guys have any comments, please leave them down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.